Hello and welcome. You're watching UTV Live at 6.
Good evening. These are the stories making the headlines.
Businesses brace themselves for the impact of new tariffs from President Trump. But what might it mean for industry here?
We want to make sure that those businesses are prepared and that hopefully our worst fears aren't realised.
There's a warning that price increases could be on the way as employers deal with a rise in the minimum and living wage, along with national insurance hikes.
We're looking at terms of a 10% increase on our wage bill. That would equate to about £800,000 a year, or to bring it down to £15,500 per week.
And it promised to deliver 100% success, but as the company FBA brand builder is closed down, dozens of clients tell UTV that they feel failed.
Also tonight, get ready for a magical musical journey with the legendary lyricist Sir Tim Rice.
And it's been a gorgeous day with lots of lengthy spells of sunshine, but is the good weather set to stay with us? I'll have all of the details later in the programme.
Businesses here are bracing themselves for Donald Trump's so-called Liberation Day tomorrow, when he will announce sweeping import tariffs for foreign companies selling into the United States.
While the Prime Minister has suggested that he wants to avoid a trade war with America, the Secretary of State has warned that US tariffs, coupled with a retaliation from the European Union, could create an issue for Northern Ireland because of its dual market access. Paul Riley reports.
Trump has long talked tough on trade. Tomorrow he's set to send shockwaves across the globe, outlining the tariffs he'll put on imports into the US. The president's primary focus, protecting American products. Prime Minister Sir Keir Starmer wants to avoid a trade war, but the government is mindful of Northern Ireland's unique position post-Brexit.
If the tariffs, the American administration puts them on and the European Union retaliates, as one would expect, then there will be an issue in Northern Ireland, because any tariffs on goods coming in from the United States would have to be paid in Northern Ireland. But there is already in place a tariff reimbursement scheme, and as long as the businesses can demonstrate that the goods are staying in Northern Ireland, then they get that tariff they've had to pay back.
While the UK hopes for negotiations with the White House, Ireland, as part of the EU, could suffer from tariffs the most. Donald Trump has previously made his feelings clear on the Republic's trade with the US.
There's a massive deficit that we have with Ireland.
Trump has his sights firmly on Ireland's pharmaceutical industry. Fears now that those exports could drop by half if there's a 20% US import tariff, which is matched by the EU.
Without question, this is a fundamental shift in US policy. Tariffs are bad. They're bad for the world. They will create instability, uncertainty and a lack of predictability. Europe will not respond prematurely, and Europe will not respond in a knee-jerk way. Europe is going to engage in a strategic response. The objective of the European Union's response will be to encourage the United States to the negotiating table.
Back here, for many businesses, it's a matter of wait and see, with manufacturers already taking some steps to shield themselves.
Some people have fixed their prices in dollars at the beginning of the year before these tariffs apply. They'll be continuing to try to work with their customers to ensure as seamless a transition as possible. But having said all of that, the intention of this president is to ensure that American jobs and American hands are put at play in making the things that he believes that should be made in the United States. And that does have an impact for us.
There's more likely to be a sense of anxiety than being prepared for this, because we don't quite know what shape things might take. I think UK government is making indications that if tariffs are imposed in some way that impact on Northern Ireland, they'll be able to get a reimbursement scheme in operation. That's fine in principle, but these schemes do take a long time to pay money back. So we just need to wait and see the detail of what may arise and how both the UK and the EU may respond.
President Trump has dubbed tomorrow Liberation Day for the US. Tariffs and trade are coming one way or another. Nations across the world are collectively holding their breath and preparing for the potential economic fallout. Paul Riley, UTV Live.
Nearly 200,000 people here are due to get a pay rise as changes to the minimum and living wage come into effect today. However, there is a warning from businesses that the changes, along with the increases to the amount of national insurance which companies will have to pay, may result in price rises for consumers.
The additional burden is costing one business more than £800,000 a year, with concerns that inflation could start to increase again if the costs are passed on to the customer. There are also fears that the hospitality industry could be hardest hit if people have less disposable income because of price rises. Jordan Moats reports.
We all know a trolley full of shopping is costing more. Price rises in recent years have become commonplace, but they could soon be rising once again. That's because the cost of employing people is going up. Living wage increases announced in last year's budget take effect today, with employers' national insurance contributions increasing this week too. Retailer Peter McBride is now trying to work out how to handle the new costs.
Well, the increases will be pretty drastic. We're looking at terms of a 10% increase on our wage bill. That would equate to about £800,000 a year, or to bring it down to £15,500 per week.
Are you planning to change what you do with staffing to try to manage these costs?
We're trying to make sure we even out our staff as best as possible and make sure that they're working at the right time. And we're trying to put a sort of a moratorium on bringing in new people. Well, it's very difficult to deal with, obviously, because we're sort of at the end of the supply chain. So manufacturers have their cost increases and their labour cost increases. Our distributors have the same, and our wholesaler. So therefore, when it comes to us, the prices have already increased.
All this could have a wider impact on the economy. Inflation has come down from its high point of over 11%, sitting at just under 3% now. That doesn't mean prices aren't rising, they're just not rising as fast. These additional costs for business could push inflation back up again.
We do expect that it will be modest compared to those over 11% year-on-year rates that we saw over the past number of years. Our Danske Bank economic forecast would say that it's around 3.2% on average for this year, and that would be in the sort of range that most forecasters are predicting.
The hospitality industry fear a double whammy. They'll have the same increase in costs like everyone else, but if customers also have less money in their pockets due to price rises, they may choose to stay at home.
Larger businesses are looking, can they, and they already have done frozen recruitment and stuff, but when you come down into the smaller businesses who need just that number of staff, what we're starting to see is reduced opening hours. It will roughly put £2,500 per head per employee. That is huge. We're a labour intensive industry. That's a big burden for the consumer to bear as well, and I fear there's nowhere to go in this situation. And that will result then, if customers can't afford to come out, if we can't afford to pay the staff the levels, it's closures.
These increases are a done deal. At a time when business would like a boost, it seems they're facing more difficulties than they'd bargained for. Jordan Moats, UTV Live.
TransLink has confirmed it has stopped design work on Irish language signs at Belfast Central Station. Last week, the Infrastructure Minister Liz Kimmins gave the go-ahead for the signage, but her decision has led to a row among executive ministers. Earlier, TransLink issued a statement saying the work was going ahead, but later it confirmed the work had been stopped due to potential legal action. The Loyalist activist Jamie Bryson has begun legal action to challenge the minister's decision. Yesterday, Deputy First Minister Emma Little-Pengelly told the Assembly that the DUP will be taking questions about the decision in the executive later this week.
A new report by the Samaritans launched at Stormont today reveals suicide rates in Northern Ireland are 3 times higher in the most deprived areas compared with the least deprived. The survey also found that 18% of the population here lived in poverty, with child poverty rates described as particularly high. They're calling for all government departments to act urgently.
Hundreds of police files are to be examined ahead of an inquest into the death of County Armagh show jumper Katie Simpson in 2020.
Today, the coroner was told that there were up to 29,000 pages of material to be examined. Sarah O'Kane reports.
Katie Simpson's death was made to look like suicide by her sister's former partner to hide what he had really done. Jonathan Creswell was accused of strangling the 21-year-old out of jealousy following an incident at a house in Gortnessy Meadows in Lettershendoney on the 3rd of August 2020. An inquest is now going to examine the talented show jumper's death. Today, during a pre-inquest review, the coroner was told police had undertaken significant work in gathering all the information they have on Katie's case to be disclosed. The court was told there's up to 29,000 pages of material, including 44 police reports, 277 statements and 53 interview files. Mr. Creswell was found dead at home in Londonderry hours after his trial for murder began last April. For the first time, a solicitor on behalf of the 36-year-old's mother was present at the review. Counsel for the coroner also told the preliminary hearing there are 3 ongoing investigations which may have potential relevance to the inquest, and one of those investigations includes allegations which might amount to criminal wrongdoing. The police ombudsman has already found failings in the PSNI's initial investigation into Katie's death. Back in January, the Justice Minister announced her department would be setting up an independent review into the handling of Jonathan Creswell as red flags were missed. Naomi Long says she wants to identify learning from why he wasn't the subject of a risk management plan by police or other agencies. The coroner's office is now going to write to the Department of Justice. Another review will be held in the middle of June because of the volume of material to be looked at. Sarah O'Kane, UTV Live.
Still to come on the programme. He's sprinkled his creative genius over The Lion King, Evita and Jesus Christ Superstar. We celebrate the work of Sir Tim Rice.
We tackle David Healy, fresh from guiding Linfield to a 57th league title.
And the new month has started off with plenty of bright and sunny spells, but will we hold on to that sunshine through the rest of the week? I'll have the full weather forecast coming up shortly.
Do stay with us.
Hello once again, you're watching UTV Live with Rose and Paul. It's just gone 18 minutes past 6. Time to look at the headlines making tonight's ITV News at 6:30.
Here's Mary Nightingale.
Coming up in the ITV Evening News, is being dubbed Awful April. But just how awful will the hikes to some household bills be for you? The landmark car loan compensation case reaches the Supreme Court. And the King returns to work and honours his friend and gardener, Alan Titchmarsh. Well, do join me for those stories and more at 6:30.
In golf, Rory McIlroy says he's dealing with an elbow issue ahead of the first major championship of the season, the Masters at Augusta National. The world number 2 finished 5th at the Houston Open, but said his elbow had been bothering him. McIlroy became only the second golfer after Tiger Woods to earn $100 million in prize money on the PGA Tour at the weekend.
In football, there's a full round-up of fixtures in the Irish Premiership this evening. Second place Larne travel to Stangmore Park to face Irish Cup finalists Dungannon Swifts, while Glentoran entertain Coleraine at the Oval.
Linfield face Crusaders when they take on to the pitch at Windsor Park for the first time since becoming Irish champions for a 57th time. Our sports correspondent Ruth Gorman has this report.
Hello from Windsor Park, where Linfield will host Crusaders tonight in the first of the split fixtures. The top 6 and the bottom 6 in the Sports Direct Premiership will play each other now over the next few weeks. But of course, Linfield became the first club to secure the title before the split even happened, when they made it title number 57. David Healy made it title number 6 during his reign here, and I've been speaking to him ahead of tonight's first home game since that achievement.
Probably a little bit different. You didn't quite have the sort of the joys, the adrenaline rush that you get when you're playing. The result that you require is in somebody else's hand, but equally as enjoyable. It was a brilliant week last week, topped off by a brilliant performance and a very good win down at Dungannon. I felt it was important that we went as strong as we did. We trained immensely hard the 2 days previously on the Monday, which again probably as hard as it would train before a game, but I wanted to put the mindset, I wanted us to have the mindset of everybody's looking in on the champions, go and perform, go and play well, and I think we did that.
Will it be special being back here tonight then, at home for the first time since you've been named champions against Crusaders?
Yeah, it's the first time, and again it's important that we go and try and put on some kind of performance. Crusaders are pushing, they probably still feel as if they're pushing for the second place in the automatic European spot. So we'll be doing our utmost. We'll try and be as professional as we can, respectful as we can. I have a huge amount of time for Declan. Even when he was a player, he was a wee bit of a nemesis at times as a player. But you get to know somebody and understand, as I do, the work and the thought process that goes into being a manager is very different than being a player. And I think he's done incredibly well this year.
Well, the home fans will get their chance to congratulate the team tonight in the first home fixture since they secured the Gibson Cup. But the trophy will be presented to the team here on Saturday. That's when the big party will take place. And it's none other than Glentoran, their biggest rivals, that are coming here on the day to play their league match. It's an early kick-off, 1 o'clock here on Saturday. And after that match, the Gibson Cup will be presented to David Healy and his side as they celebrate title number 57 in Linfield's history.
Ruth Gorman reporting. Sir Tim Rice is the legendary lyricist behind some of the greatest tracks ever written.
He's known for his work alongside the likes of Lord Andrew Lloyd Webber, members of ABBA, and he's even penned songs for Disney blockbusters like The Lion King and Aladdin. And
now Sir Tim is bringing a special show to our shores as he steps onto the stage himself. Nathan Hanna reports.
He's the Oscar-winning lyricist who's no stranger to the red carpet. Sir Tim Rice is the writing genius who teamed up with Lord Andrew Lloyd Webber to pen theatre hits for the likes of Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat and Evita, rubbing shoulders with the likes of Madonna along the way. But he has admitted it was a career that came as a bit of a surprise.
I didn't think before meeting Andrew I would ever write musicals. I didn't think I'd write anything, to be honest. I didn't think I'd be successful in that field.
Sir Tim Rice.
Now it's time to step from behind the curtain and into the spotlight with a new show called My Life in Musicals that's on its way to Belfast.
I did the tour last year in England alone. I felt rather guilty that I hadn't come to Northern Ireland, or for that matter, Southern Ireland, Wales, Scotland. But it went really well. I think the producers were even more surprised than I was. And it's me coming on stage and chatting about my songs. And I've got 4 wonderful singers, West End singers, who sing them together and individually. And I've got a wonderful band led by Duncan Waugh, who's a top theatrical MD. And we bash through a lot of the hits I've been lucky enough to have.
Sir Tim, who has a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame, is in an elite group. He's one of only 21 people to have won an Emmy, a Grammy, an Oscar and a Tony Award. He's enjoyed a fascinating career, having teamed up with Disney for Aladdin and The Lion King, and has worked alongside the likes of Elton John and even members of pop supergroup ABBA.
Don't cry for me, Argentina.
Iconic tracks such as Hakuna Matata, A Whole New World and Circle of Life will be lighting up the stage in Belfast's Ulster Hall when the curtain goes up for one night only with Sir Tim in April. Nathan Hanna, UTV Live.
Well, Keepers of the Loch airs tonight at 8:30 on UTV, and it will also be available on our streaming platform ITVX. Don't miss it.
This is the annual launch day here in Strangford. We're getting all the boats ready to go into the water after a winter ashore.
I do remember coming in, and it was a big, big deal.
We had dolphins down just coming out of Strangford to follow us up for the first mile, nearly.
Well, it's been an absolutely lovely day today, and we're all hoping that it's going to continue to be like that. So we're going to join Louise now, who is up at Sir Thomas and Lady Dixon Park. What can we expect?
Hello, Rose and Paul. Yes, we have had plenty of bright and sunny spells around today. It was quite breezy though around the coast, but the good news is the sunshine is set to stay for the next few days, at least into the weekend. We have had plenty of fine, dry, settled weather. Temperatures yesterday reached 18.2 degrees Celsius. Today we had in and around 17 degrees, and we will hold on to those mid-teens, high teens temperatures as we head through the week. Slightly cooler though towards the weekend, but holding on to the sunshine, so not too much to complain about. However, we do have an increase in pollen levels over the next few days. The current allergen is ash. We have moderate levels for the next couple of days, along with moderate UV levels. The sun is actually as strong at this time of year as it would be in September, so please do take care in the sunshine if you're out for any length of time. Brighter nights, brighter days, not too bad at all. That is the very latest. Here is your forecast.
When it's unpredictable outside, you can rely on the comforts of home. UTV Weather, sponsored by the Grand Rona R290 heat pump.
So we had plenty of dry, bright and sunny weather around today. It was slightly breezier around the coast, and we will hold on to the breeze overnight and into tomorrow for some. But for most it should stay largely dry with lengthy spells of sunshine, and that's all due to high pressure. It stays with us right through this week, dictating our weather. The isobars though are tightly packed around that high, indicating some breezy conditions for a time, but staying largely fine, dry and settled. There is a slight chance of a few showers overnight on Thursday into Friday, but for most it should stay largely dry. Now tonight we have a few late spells of sunshine to end the day. Clear skies will develop overnight. Under those clear skies, temperatures will hold up around 4 to 6 or 8 degrees Celsius in places. However, in the coldest rural spots they could dip a few degrees closer to freezing, but it should stay frost free. Tomorrow gets off to a fine and dry start. Plenty of lengthy spells of sunshine developing through the morning into the afternoon. Blue skies for most, barely a cloud in the sky, but it will remain breezy along the southeast coast. Lighter winds inland with a top temperature of 15, possibly 16 degrees Celsius, so above average for this time of year. Across the rest of Ireland, it's a fine and dry day. Plenty of lengthy spells of sunshine into the afternoon. Slightly breezier around the coast. Again, much lighter winds inland with highs of 16 or 17 degrees Celsius. Looking ahead then for the next couple of days, we have plenty of sunshine on the way as we head towards the weekend. Temperatures will slowly increase through Thursday and Friday, but start to trend back down again over the weekend, back to around average for this time of year. But we will still continue to hold on to the bright and sunny spells. That's very latest. Have a lovely evening. Bye-bye for now.
UTV Weather, sponsored by the Grand Rona R290 heat pump.
Thanks very much, Louise. Now, we meant to say Keepers of the Loch, which we saw earlier, airs tonight at 8:30. Don't miss it because it is really well worth watching. That's just about all we have time for this 1st of April.
I'll be back with the next local bulletin at 10:30. The ITV News continues with Mary Nightingale. From Rose, from me and the rest of the team, good evening.
Good evening.